Hello and welcome to This Date in History, aka T.D.H. This show is all about the events that occurred today in years past, both recognized by actual historians, but mainly things I personally find intriguing enough for me to bring to you. The source of this information comes from the smart device application Today in History on this day. For links to the app, music, and anything else potentially interesting, check the underbar. Anyway, on with the show! Today is Tuesday, aka Tuesday, May 1st, 2018. In 305, Diocletian and Maximian retired from the office of Roman Emperor. In 880, the Nea Ecclesia was inaugurated in Constantinople, which set the model for all later cross and square Orthodox churches. In 1328, the Wars of Scottish Independence ended via the Treaty of Edinburgh-Northampton, in which the Kingdom of England recognized the Kingdom of Scotland as an independent state. In 1728, the Act of Union joined the Kingdoms of England and Scotland to form the Kingdom of Great Britain. In 1753, the Species Plantarum by Linnaeus was published. This date is also the formal start date of plant taxonomy, which was adopted by the International Code of Botanical Nomenclature. In 1776, the Illuminati in Ingolstadt, now known as Upper Bavaria, was established by Jesuit taught Adam Weishaupt. In 1785, Kamehameha I, the king of Hawaii, defeated Kalaniʻupuopo and established the Kingdom of Hawaii. Just the next year, in 1786, in Vienna, Austria, Mozart's opera The Marriage of Figaro was performed for the first time. In 1840, the penny black, the first official adhesive postage stamp, was issued in the UK. In 1844, Hong Kong Police Force, the world's second modern police force and Asia's first, was established. In 1865, the Empire of Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay signed the Treaty of the Triple Alliance. Just the next year, in 1866, the Memphis race riots began. Within 3 days, 48 people, 46 of which were black, were murdered. Reports of the atrocities influenced the passage of the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution. In 1884, the demand for 8-hour workdays in the U.S. was proclaimed. On that same day, Moses Fleetwood Walker became the first black to play in a professional baseball game in the U.S. In 1886, rallies were held throughout the United States, demanding the 8-hour workday. This event culminated in the Haymarket Fair in Chicago, Illinois. In commemoration, May 1st is celebrated as International Workers' Day in many countries. In 1894, Coxey's Army, the first significant U.S. protest march, arrived in Washington, D.C. In 1898, during the Spanish-United States War, the Battle of Manila Bay ended in a U.S. victory after its navy destroyed the Spanish Pacific Fleet during the first major battle of the conflict. In 1915, the RMS Lusitania departed from New York City on her 202nd and final voyage, crossing the North Atlantic. She was torpedoed 6 days later off the coast of Ireland, taking 1,198 people with her. 10 years later, in 1925, the All China Federation of Trade Unions was officially founded. Today, it is the largest trade union in the world, with 134 million members. In 1929, the 7.2 magnitude Kopet-Dag earthquake hit the Iran-Turkmenistan border region with a maximum Mercalli intensity of 9, or violent, causing the deaths of up to 3,800 people and the injury of 1,121 others. Just the next year, in 1930, the planet Pluto was officially named. The year after that, in 1931, the Empire State Building was dedicated in New York City. Alright, we have 4 articles in 1945, all happening during World War II, so let's do this. A German newsletter officially announced that Adolf Hitler had, quote, fallen at his command post in the Reich Chancellery, fighting to the last breath against Bolshevism and for Germany, end quote. The Soviet flag was raised over the Reich Chancellery by order of Stalin. Nazi propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels and his wife Magda committed suicide in the Reich Garden outside the Führer bunker. Their children were also killed via cyanide pills inserted into their mouths by their mother. Forces of the Soviet Red Army liberated Allied prisoners of war from Stalag Luft I near Barth, Germany. And for the last story of 1945 and during World War II, up to 2,500 people suicided in Demmin upon knowing of the advance of the Red Army. In 1946, the Paris Peace Conference concluded that the islands of Dode-Canis should be returned to Greece by Italy. In 1948, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, aka North Korea, was established with Kim Il-sung as its leader. Alright, now there's a point I'd like to make. Earlier in this very episode, you probably noticed that England recognized Scotland as an official state by itself, independent and stuff, and then the very next article, they like took them over. Well, I was speaking to a friend of mine, and apparently this occurs a lot on purpose. Apparently, for as far as treaties and stuff are concerned, like things like this are, like the governments of the world throughout antiquity and like all of history and stuff have tried to keep like things at historical significant dates. Probably like to have like a whole like what's the word, anniversary type thing. So like the whole Scotland thing. One boom boom. That I've actually noticed that a couple times over the course of doing the show for quite some time. And here's something I'd like you to know what I just figured out. Okay, so I just reported right now about North Korea. What just happened a couple days ago? Little weird, huh? So it's like a date to date, birth, death, boom, done. That's a little strange. Just wanted to put that out there. In 1950, Guam was organized as a Commonwealth of the United States. In 1956, the polio vaccine developed by Jonas Salk was made available to the public. On that same day, a doctor in Japan reported a, quote, epidemic of an unknown disease of the central nervous system, end quote, marking the official discovery of Minamata disease. In 1960, the western Indian states of Gujarat and Maharashtra were formed. On that same date, 1960, during the Cold War, the U.S. spy plane incident occurred when Francis Gary Powers was shot down while flying a Lockheed U-2 spy plane over Sverdlovsk Oblast, Soviet Union, thus sparking a diplomatic crisis. Just the next year, in 1961, the Prime Minister of Cuba, Fidel Castro, proclaimed Cuba a socialist nation and abolished elections. Just a decade later, in 1971, Amtrak, the National Railroad Passenger Corporation, took over operations of U.S. passenger rail services. In 1978, Naomi Umera became the first person to reach the North Pole alone. In 1993, Dingiri Banda Wajutunga became the president of Sri Lanka, automatically after defeating R. Premadasa in glorious combat via an LTTW bomb explosion. In 1999, the body of George Mallory, a British climber, was found on Mount Everest 75 years after his disappearance in 1924. Also in 1999, SpongeBob SquarePants premiered on Nickelodeon after the 1999 Kids' Choice Awards. In 2002, OpenOffice.org released version 1.0, which was the first stable version of the software. In 2004, Cyprus, Czech Republic, Estonia, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Malta, Poland, Slovakia, and Slovenia joined the European Union. This event was celebrated at the residence of the Irish Parliament in Dublin. In 2011, during the quote-unquote War on Terror, Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden was allegedly assassinated by SEAL Team 6. And on that same day, Pope John Paul II was beatified by his successor, Pope Benedict XVI. Verse, Alexander William Williamson, 1824, J. Retard, 1980. J. Retard, what a name. I feel sorry for that poor man. And that concludes the show. Once again, check the underbar for any links you may be interested in. For your dose of Past Events Daily, I am Alexander, and you are you. Toodles!